Welcome back. Hopefully I can muster through this without gagging, because I've been sick recently, so taking a cough drop, and hopefully I won't cough up too much. If so, I'll have to re-record this, but I'll try to get through this. Anyways, this is the review on the Hamilton Khaki Navy Pioneer, and the reference number is H78455543. I'll have it probably in the title or description on the bottom. And I'll try to go into the review of this watch, which I've owned since it's been at least almost 2 months now. But let me quickly get the specs out of the way. It's a 40mm watch. I think the lug to lug is about 45 or 46. It's pretty short considering, as you can see, how close it is to the case. The spring bars, which just run right through here, and there are spring bars on here, even though it looks like it has wire lugs. And these are 20mm lug spacing, and the thickness, I believe, is about 10mm. It's actually relatively thin. So it's those are the specs. It's running on a Swiss ETA 2895-2, and I guess it's basically been, I think it might have been modified a bit to have the small seconds here. And this watch, let's go over this real quickly. Switch the white balance a little bit for a moment, because this is going to go off a bit. It comes in a variety of colors. There's there's this version, which is the navy dial, and there is a, you see back there, a silver dial version, which basically looks white. Excuse me. But it's like a very light silver, so it looks white. And there is another one that's rose tone. Let me see if I can find that. Right there. Rose tone hands, and I think it still has a silver dial. It is pretty cool too, but I've never seen anyone that's got that, because usually most people want to go with the classic marine chronometer look, which is basically a white dial with the blued hands and a stainless steel silver case. It's classic, which was the original one I was going to get, and it looks very nice, of course. But I thought, I was thinking about it, it's like, well, I've seen so many that look, marine chronometers that have this layout. I don't see too many with a blue dial. I've probably seen more that possibly have black. So I thought this was pretty nice, especially from what I've seen. It's got a very unique blue, and I like the fact that it has silver accents for the hands. And so I decided to go with this instead. But let me just quickly go over this. This is probably the first version of the Khaki Navy Pioneer, and then I believe this version, which loses the small seconds, so central seconds, and this one this came later, and I would say it doesn't have its ETA. It has I think they have their own in-house movement in this, which bumps the power reserve up to about 80 hours, if I'm not mistaken. This is about 42, so double. 80 hours, quite a bit. But I didn't, for me, marine chronometer, I believe, should have small seconds, and so a look that I like more than just like that, which is, it's good, but it's not what I was going for. A little bit more plain to me. And I think this should only come in 40mm, but I think this version, and they also might have possibly some other colorways, but I don't think a navy, maybe, But anyways, this version over here might come in 40, maybe even something larger, I'm sure, and possibly even smaller. I think they maybe even have lady size or something like that. And oh, just before I get into that, the only other version of this style, small seconds but no date, is right here, which is let's try and zoom up in here. This is their limited edition version, and this doesn't have a date, and you can see the sub-dial here. The small seconds is larger. It occupies the 6th space, and it actually is manual wind, and it's definitely larger. I think this is about 46 millimeters, so quite a bit larger than this. But this can come out of its cage, or there's like a base that the watch unit mounts into, and you can take that off and put it into a special display stand. Let me see if I can find a picture of that. Yeah, right there. Oops, sorry. Right. It's over right there. And it's pretty cool. It's got this, like, marine chronometer kind of box where this clock, the watch mounts into, and it's a nice, very nice display piece for like a desk clock or something. I almost don't want to even take it out. Plus, it's 46 millimeters, so it may not fit on the wrist of many people. But it could be okay, because it's a perfectly round shape and relatively short lugs. So if you had to wear it, if you can wear something like a Seiko Tuna, which is at least 46, I mean, most of them are basically about 48 millimeters round. This wouldn't be that much different if you were to go with the limited edition version, which is 46 millimeters. Anyways, I'll get my white balance back to this. Yeah, I chose this version of the Khaki Navy Pioneer because I just wanted something different. I've seen way too many of the silver dial with the blue hands, which is of course classic and very nice, but this has a nice quality to its own. I don't see many of these. I think these are a bit more rare as well. Generally cost a little bit more in the market, though some places you can find it for a little bit less, almost about the same as the white ones, but I find as many of these made. The date window does stick out a little bit more because it's not white or silver like the other version, but I don't find it jarring. It seems to, whenever I see this, they seem to work out the balance of the dial pretty good. Even though they did shrink the 3 a little bit, at least it's not cut off, which I think, for the most part, I think it reads still really nicely. I'm not bothered by it, although some people are, but anyways. And I like how this got a different finish. It's like a radio pattern to differentiate it from a relatively, I would call it like it's almost matte, but it feels a bit like it's got a bit of a sheen to it, a satin finish to the matte, this blue dial. And another reason why I like this look is it reminds me of, though a completely different league of watch in its own, it reminds me of F.P Journe Chronometre Bleu. I'm not sure, sorry, my French is whack, but you'll probably know the watch if you're into watches. So let's switch back over here, and as you can see, there's going to be a different white balance between my incandescent light and my screen, but in reality it looks pretty similar, though this is probably a deeper, richer blue. But the style of the numbers, the way it's around here, just a sub dial, and this is kind of an offset sub dial, different handset, but just that general look feels similar to me enough. It's like, all right, you know, it looks nice, kind of like that, but different, but you know, still nice. So it just makes me feel like I have something a little bit more upscale because of this particular blue and the way the numbers are done and everything, this whole layout. And the reason why I chose a Hamilton for a marine chronometer watch, which I always like the style, like the small seconds, and I don't really have anything with the small seconds. And I don't really consider having a chronograph that does have a small seconds. It's a different look. But this Hamilton, I mean, a lot of the other marine chronometers I looked at, I considered Stover makes a very nice one, and others that are like Stover, Steinhardt, but I think they generally make theirs a little bit larger, at least 42, maybe 44 millimeters. It's a little bit larger than I wanted. But overall, most other marine chronometer styles, their basic look, and especially the case shape, is all very similar. This is the only one I know of that has this very unique case shape. Very cylindrical, but you can see it got some bevels and mixed finishing. It's really nice, and I like how the wire lugs are on here and it's mounted on here. Usually the other ones are just all blended in. You know, it looks like a fairly standard watch case, to be honest, the other marine chronometer style. And it's got a sign crown, display back. I don't think there's a hell of a lot of decoration on here, if anything, but it's alright. It's still a good looking, you know, movement. And yeah, it's I'm gonna try to keep my hands steady because I know people have griped that I fidget with the watch too much, so I'll try to make a concerted effort to keep it more stable. But I wanted to show you, like, the profile is nice. It's really good. And what else can I say about this? For at least my usage with this watch, it's been quite accurate. I don't think it's been more than +2, maybe +4 seconds a day. Yeah, it's been actually holding up quite good. What was I gonna say? This normally, am I jumping around too much? Well, let's just go over the features. This normally comes on this dark brown. I don't know, almost looks black in this video. But it does come in this dark brown leather strap. And from what I've seen other people have mentioned, most seem to think this is a crappy watch strap. And I don't know. I don't think I would agree. It's actually, you know, it's got a good thickness. But is it stiff? Maybe a little bit. But I think in the long run, if you wear this enough, it's just going to break in nicely. It kind of feels, if you know, like a new baseball catcher's mitt, that kind of feel to it. And if you just, you know, use it and break it in, it'll just kind of settle in and conform to your hand, and just has that, you know, enough flexibility in the right spots built around the way you wear and use this watch, or rather the mitt. But same thing, if you wear this enough, I think this will probably conform and be actually pretty comfortable and secure because of the thickness and the build quality. I don't know. I don't think there's a problem with it. But I would say maybe it looks a little too new. I have other strap options. Like I have this one from Hatley Roma, and this even looks more brown than this, as you can see. But you know, it's already got a nice kind of. I've worn this on other watches, but it's got a nice wear to it and tone. It's like oiled brown. So this looks actually pretty good, I guess, obviously on such a watch. And it's a bit of a strap monster. I just recently put it on a mesh because I haven't before, but I've tried it on like this Fluco. I think it's Fluco suede, gray suede. Looks actually pretty good with this, as well as you can't go wrong with a navy strap as well. This is like a buffalo grain. Also, I believe from Fluco. Was it? Yeah, Fluco, but I think the style is called Record. And it actually looks pretty nice on this ostrich that's like a matte ivory color. Just imagine. It pairs up quite nicely on here. Really makes that blue pop, and it's just kind of nice. Again, this off-white color. It just I'm reminded of, for some reason, Civil War era, kind of the old American uniforms, primarily the Union, but the general United States Army or cavalry that used to have, you know, the blue uniforms, and then they had like these white, kind of, or maybe off-white leather gloves for riding. I don't know. It's I guess their Navy could probably use this too, but I don't know. It's just that's colorways. That's what it reminds me of. But anyways, I think this looks good. It actually looks quite good on that. And another gray alligator. Pretty much anything. Even this guy, because there's some blue in it. It's a tartan strap from Strap Code. This is the Stewart pattern. It's pretty nice, actually. People think it's a bit funky, and I get that, but just have an open mind and just kind of see the texture and the pattern. It's just something different, which looks good on the watch. Anyways, I'll put it on my wrist to show you how it looks like in a moment. Actually, I want to do that now. Oh, quick wrist check. I got my vertical Pilot 1 here. I've been wearing 2 watches for a while. For the past couple months, I've been test driving 2 watches to see how they handle. This is kind of new. I'll do a review on this soon. And this is my modded Seiko SKX. And yeah, that's basically it for the wristwatch check. So you can see, very cool watch. So on my 6.875 inch wrist, this is what the watch will wear and look like on my wrist, and it should fit pretty much any size wrist, because it's 40 millimeters is a good size, and it's relatively flat and thin. Short lugs, fit smaller wrist for sure. The lugs angle down reasonably well, and I think this looks pretty good too. Let me see if I can back up and get a better shot, but you know, the wide angle lens might be a bit disproportionate. But let's back up dust, but yeah, see, you can see it wears quite nice. See if I can get different angles. There's no lume on this, but don't really need it. Sometimes I used to think that the hands would be hard to read because they're silver, high polished, but they catch enough light when you need to and have some contrast with like reflecting dark areas a little bit. I don't know. I've never had an issue reading this, let's just say that. You know, I had my initial worries when it goes dark. Oh, can I? It's not, but it's not, in actuality, it's not that hard to read. And it looks great. Silver, because that blue, very classy. With these, I think they're called spade style hands. I don't know, I have a terminology somewhere. And let's take a look at this. I'll try to get some stable shots on the wrist. As I talk, I don't know if you can see the seconds hand. Some people have asked, and maybe they've experienced something called like maybe some stuttering of the seconds hand, but I don't think I've experienced that. At least I've never noticed it. It seems to run quite consistently and smoothly enough going around here. So at least with my example, I wouldn't worry too much about it. This has just the right amount of brush along the sides and some high polish for the edge, just give it some detail. Again, these wire lugs are quite handsome, and but they're not real. There is a spring bar in between, so when you pull that spring bar, there is a gap in between. I'd say this will fit NATO's pretty decently as well if you need to pass through, but it does run close, so you may want to consider some curved ones. 20mm curved spring bars to help give you that extra space from the case to run it through without, being abrasive up against the case as you're trying to run it through, because it can be kind of close. I've discovered definitely get a set of curved spring bars for any watches you may own. If it's 20mm with either 20mm or 22 or whatever it might be, it opens up the possibilities to fit more straps through. Especially, mainly if the space between here is really tight, which some of a number of my watches seem to be for some reason. But that's it. I mean, hopefully, just give you a good look at this watch. Even the date window is actually kind of stepped or framed. Let's see if I can focus in on that a little bit. Sorry for the shakiness. It's my cheap tripod mount, which hopefully I will change some of these days. One of these days. Some people have been kind of on the fence about this kind of I don't know what you call this. It's kind of a hobnail design or texture on the side, but it actually works. I mean, it feels like you can grip it and turn something, but there is no rotating bezel. It's just for design. It's good. I mean, it wouldn't have been bad if it was smooth, but I think this gives some extra visual interest, which could otherwise be rather plain and maybe in fact boring for the case being so clean the way the lines are. But I don't know. It's all subjective. So what else can I say about this? I guess you can get this for under full retail price, like around 700 or less, a little bit less. You're doing pretty good. The box is nothing special. I would show it to you, but it's just pretty much a basic Hamilton box as far as I know. Actually, I wouldn't know because this is actually my first one. Hamilton, that is. I consider a number of other ones, but this always attracted me, and eventually I just kind of succumbed to getting one in just to see what it's all about, and I'm not disappointed. Is this a keeper? Possibly. I'm trying to see where my collection is going. If I can, I'd love to keep it, but there might be a slight possibility I might be selling this. So if you're interested, let me know. I'm thinking about 600. I think it's fair. I mean, there's only been about 2 months, and I have all the original box and the strap, obviously in very good condition still. Really hasn't been used. I think I only wore it once on the first day I got it. And see, there's not really any damage, if anything. To show the reflections off the bezel. Relatively clean. If you can spot anything, it's going to be so minute. You're probably not going to care, and it'll be easy to finish, touch up with a little bit of Cape Cod's polish. Yeah. This is pretty nice for the price, and the scale is good at 40 millimeters. Oh, it's 100 meters water resistant. I forgot to mention that. But there is no screw down crown, so you can just manually wind it like this. Of course, it's automatic, so you just, by your movement, it'll wind itself. But all you do is just start winding this, and you're good to go. It is a nautical themed watch, but it's definitely not a dive watch, so 100 meters is more than sufficient to still keep you free of any worry for most water incursion. Shouldn't happen. I believe the seal should be good enough at 100 meters, and again, you shouldn't be diving with this or submerging this in much water, although technically you probably could, but this is a deck watch, I guess, so I want to stay dry with this. I could definitely recommend this watch if you're into this style. I think the printing, let me just try to get up closer, it's quite clean. Everything lines up right. Yeah, it's very crisp. I like the fact that it bevels down around the edges. Just give us a little something more interesting. Otherwise, it could be quite flat, maybe a little boring. Again, the date window is kind of stepped or has a bit of a frame around it, as you can see. So that's nice. You got the different finish on these small seconds. The hands, I thought somewhere they said the numbers, I thought they said it was supposed to be silver, but I really basically see this as white. See if I can just try and give a good scale and look at this. I probably have been fidgeting with this watch a bit more than I should have, but it's always late, and gotta get rid of that nervous tick of moving the watch around too much. But I hope I held it straight and long enough to give you a good clean look at all of this. It's a good looking watch. I think it's kind of highly underrated. A lot of people, I guess, would rather get a Stova. I think it's their first choice if they choose a marine chronometer, which is a great watch, and you can kind of personalize it more as well. But I like the uniqueness of the way Hamilton executed this. I've never seen any other marine chronometer that looks like this. And I like the fact that it's different with the blue dial. Everyone pretty much has the white dial version with blued hands, which is nice, but it's a bit too common. So but either way, if you like that, go for it. Or if you like this, I would also recommend it, of course, equally as well. I've never seen anyone own the rose gold version. I think it could be pretty nice too, but we never know, I guess. You can definitely choose different strap options, and I think it can work any wrist size. Again, mine is 6.875. I can see this easily going down to at least 6.5, maybe even more, a little bit more, maybe 6.25. And it'll be still just fine. And I guess that's it. I cut this short. It's going on 30 minutes. And I hope you enjoyed this, and at least gives you some insight as to whether you'd like to own something like this or probably pass. Either way, I don't make a dime, but at least I hope I provided some good information for you. All right, thanks, and see you in the next.